Turning to business news now with Kim Savage. Kim, apparently ageist attitudes are putting people over the age of 45 kind of changing new careers, is it?
Yeah, putting a bit of fear into them, actually, some of these attitudes they're encountering with prospective employers. So, of course, we're living longer these days. We're talking about a life expectancy of 86 for men and 89 for women. And, of course, that means we're generally working longer as well. And this has actually led to Wise Ones. This is a specialist recruitment company. Kate Ross, she's the founder of that company, to speak out about this. She's saying that this is becoming increasingly an issue with people. For example, a client who she's placed with businesses many times over, and now coming to her in their, say, 50s and finding that they're actually really worried about what they're going to do in terms of changing jobs and whether they're going to find themselves still relevant in the workforce. So what Kate Ross is saying is backed up by Stats New Zealand figures, which show around 140,000 people over the age of 45 are being underutilised. And when you do the maths, essentially, it works out that that's about just over $2 billion that those people are then not spending in the economy. So she's arguing that businesses and the wider economy are actually missing out by these people over the age of 45 not being employed and not being utilised to the best of their abilities. And she says that it's essentially down to employers possibly thinking that people who have more experience are going to cost more. And she says that's not necessarily the case, because quite often they're actually just wanting to use their skills, and more importantly, as they creep closer in those last sort of couple of decades towards retirement, wanting to save money, because the figures show that there's around it costs around $1,000 a week to fund that retirement. And of course, if you're living longer, you're needing to pay that money for longer, and maybe about 600 of that is made up of payments from superannuation. So it's a significant amount of money people need to save, and Kate Ross from Wise One says that it really benefits everyone all round if those ageist attitudes could change.
Hey, I'm particularly interested in this next story because we've been talking on the program about Murupara losing its cash machine, its only cash machine. I see here BNZ has said it's going to keep its regional branches open a little longer, but no such commitment from any of the other major banks.
Yes, well, BNZ has said that it's going to just keep these closures on hold for now. All of the major banks, as we know, we have been talking about it for a few years now, haven't they? They've been gradually closing those branches as more and more people move to using online services. Basically, you can do pretty much everything online now. But what BNZ's saying is that they are finding that customers, there are still some things they want to walk into a branch and speak to people about face-to-face, things like KiwiSaver and mortgages. So obviously a mortgage is a big deal for people. It's the largest debt people will generally have in their lifetime. And so they're really wanting to sit down and be face-to-face with people. So that's the commitment that BNZ has made, to keep any closures on hold through till 2020. So we went to the other banks and had a bit of a chat with them about what their plans are. And ANZ, we know, has already closed several branches. It's closed Riverton and Southland, and also Stratford and Taranaki. And then last year closed 12 branches throughout the country. So it says that it will continue to review that. It currently has 70 regional branches, so it'll just be keeping an eye on that. Westpac and ASB, two of the other Australian-owned banks, they are yet to say what they're going to do with all their branches in the region. And Kiwibank, as we know too, has been gradually uncoupling its Kiwibank services with New Zealand Post. And so some of those branches have closed or moved to kind of separate services there. But as far as BNZ goes, you'd have to say it's a pretty good PR move on their part for their regional customers, sort of offering to keep those branches open a lot longer.
Hey, should we have a quick gallop around the markets? What else was going on today?
Yes, let's just take a quick look at the NZX Top 50. Closed just down around 20 points this evening. That's about 0.2% lower. Finishes the day at 10,028 points. And taking a quick look at the currency, New Zealand dollar buying 66.3 US cents and 95.1 Australian.
Thanks, Kim. That's Kim Savage joining us with business news from our Wellington studio.